After 23 years, we have a new logo, we have a new brand, we have a new tagline, and I think it really captures what the Clubhouse movement is all about, hopefully for you as well as for your young people. And I love where we ended up with the individual Clubhouse name and tagline. The Clubhouse, where technology meets imagination. I hope you're all using this. I hope you all have your signs up. Here are a couple of examples from clubhouses of signs in action at your clubhouse. You know, we have a section on our new intranet site. You probably saw in our flyer, the registration packet, a little note about our new intranet site. So if you aren't using the new logo, the new name, the new brand, there's a cheat sheet there. There's all the variations on the logo that you might be looking for. There's guidelines about how to use it. So please do start using our new name and our new brand. It's really a new look for a new era, which is what I want to talk about this morning. But let me start with just a snapshot of where we are. This is a representation of our global community. We have 53 clubhouses in the United States at this point and 37 outside the US. And I will say that as in prior years, we did have some clubhouses leave the network over the past year. In some cases, it was a situation where financially their organizations just weren't able to support the clubhouse, and so they opted to take a break or in some cases close. And in others, there were situations where, for whatever reason, the clubhouse and the standards that we expect of each organization just weren't being upheld for whatever reason. And so, you know, our feeling is if that's the case and you're not working toward making changes in that regard, then let's just kind of recognize that maybe the clubhouse isn't a fit for where your organization is going right now, and we'll take a break. So we had some clubhouses leave us in that respect as well. But at the same time, we had many new clubhouses join us this past year. And in each of these cases, those of you who have been here before have heard me say this before. But as in past years, all of these new clubhouses have come about because someone has been inspired by the work that they see taking place in an individual clubhouse and have come and asked, what can we do to set up a clubhouse of our own? So Movement City, which is part of Lawrence Community Works in Lawrence, Massachusetts, there's Anna representing in the house. So, that organization was inspired by the work at the flagship clubhouse at the museum and also by the sister clubhouse in Lawrence at the Boys and Girls Club. The Taita Clubhouse in New Zealand is a sister clubhouse to no haka, just a little whoop, no haka. What's wrong with you guys? Inspired by the Nainai Clubhouse and also the Wanganui Clubhouse in New Zealand. And then we have 4 organizations that are listed here that are all part of the growth in our movement that Best Buy is helping to fuel. So Alternatives in Action, the Breezy Foundation in Los Angeles, the Juanita Crafts Center in Dallas, and the Atlanta Public Library. All of these sites, this is 4 more sites joining the 8 that Best Buy has already sponsored and started, all part of the Clubhouse Network. And I don't want you guys to feel any pressure, but really it is your work every day, day in and day out, that fuels our growth. Because I hear every week from people who have been to see one of your clubhouses and are inspired by it. So keep up doing the great work and we'll see continued growth. And I know that we will be seeing new clubhouses in the works in the year ahead. But it's not just about numbers. In the past year, we accomplished a tremendous amount. And I lifted this from last year's State of the Network address. It may look familiar. I ended with, in sum, here are the things that we're going to tackle this coming year. And I'm really proud to be able to say that we accomplished all of the things on this list. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them. But the reason I'm especially proud is a couple months after I stood up here last year and made all these commitments to you, I got a very unexpected phone call from our friends at Intel Corporation, and they let us know that after more than 15 years of partnership, that they were going to be ending the relationship with us. And It really was because they said that they felt that they had accomplished the goals that we had set out together. So it was not, it was not a messy breakup. It was one where they said they just felt really proud of what we'd accomplished and felt like we were in a position to be able to carry on our own, and they were going to redirect their attention to other priorities. So, I must say that for the first couple of minutes after I heard this news, I thought, well, who am I going to get to replace Intel? Because they did quite a bit for us over those 15 years. How many of you received a tech refresh at some point over the years? Yeah. How about C2C scholarships? Yes, we ended up counting up, we had 264 college scholarships that we gave out over the years. And so in some cases, Intel has been very generous about helping to kind of bridge the transition time. They're continuing their support of the Teen Summit for this summer, which is in part why we're able to still go forward with it. But some of the things that we have done in the past, we're going to need to look for replacement funders for. So the tech refresh, I know many of you have reached out locally and gotten tech refreshes of your own, and I would encourage you to continue to look to do that if you can, while we look to find a network-wide funder who can provide that support. C2C scholarships. You may remember, those of you who were with us last December, we started a campaign to try to rebuild the C2C scholarship fund on our own. And I even found a donor who was willing to match dollar for dollar every contribution that we got, up to $25,000, which really would have been put us in a position to restart the scholarship fund. Unfortunately, we only raised around $1,100, so $2,200 when you double that, and it wasn't enough to be able to offer a scholarship this year. But we're going to try again this fall, and I think we'll be able to find a match again. And I would encourage all of you to reach out to your networks. If everyone in this room found 5 people to donate $10 each, that would put us well on the way to be able to rebuild that scholarship fund and offer something back out to the network and our youth. But I know many of you looking around the room also have college scholarship funds of your own. And so again, you don't need to wait for us to do it. Please consider building something up like that locally in your own communities. So we really have much to celebrate from the relationship with Intel over many years. At first, my thought was, well, I need to find another company like Intel to replace the partnership that we had with them. And then I realized that as positive as the relationship was with Intel for all those years, it also came with some challenges. So some of you I know have encountered these challenges because you've told me about them. One is other funders. It's sometimes hard to explain to other funders why we need their support if you have Intel. I've had many people ask me, well, how long have you been working for Intel? And I'll have to explain, we're a nonprofit organization. Intel is just funding us. So, and also Intel was very focused on the things that they supported, which were fabulous. But when it came time to try to raise money for new initiatives, it was a bit of a struggle. So rather than looking for one single company to replace Intel, and I have to confess another problem with it is, we had a lot of our eggs in one basket, right? And so it puts us in the position we're in today. That instead, what I'm really looking to do is to take a portfolio approach and provide an opportunity for a variety of funders, both government, corporate, private foundations, individuals even, to all come together and support the very important work that all of you are doing in your clubhouses day in and day out. So we have a strong and growing relationship with Best Buy. As I already mentioned, they're a major sponsor of this conference as well as the Teen Summit this summer. Google is right now an in-kind sponsor for the Teen Summit this summer, and we hope to see a growing relationship there. Government funding that we're getting from the Department of Justice that I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. National Science Foundation, we have one grant pending that I'm hoping we'll even hear about this week. And we've been invited by a program officer at the National Science Foundation to submit another proposal in August, and others that are on this list. Certainly our relationship with the MIT Media Lab is key. And so, again, rather than look for one individual, who's going to be our Intel of the future, let's take this approach and invite lots of different people to participate in the work that we're doing. It goes without saying that given the size and the duration of the partnership, that the loss of Intel as a funder does create a temporary gap. But at the same time, I think it really presents an opportunity for us, and it really couldn't come at a better time. Because in addition to rebranding that I talked about earlier, this past year, as many of you will recall, we launched a 5-year planning process to look at where we want to be in the year 2020. And one of the first things we did in anticipation of that is to develop a Clubhouse Network Advisory Council. I talked about this last year, some of you may remember. And really the goal of this advisory council is to advocate for the Clubhouse mission, to help us shape future direction, to provide their expertise, to contribute themselves financially and enlist support from others, and really to serve as ambassadors for the Clubhouse Network. And we kicked off the advisory council in the fall of last year. We had a meeting in Boston in conjunction with the anniversary, the celebration for the Clubhouse Network, and we're off to a great start. This is a list of the advisory council members. Will look familiar to you. Fran Baker, who is the executive director of Gold Crown here. Susan Bass-Roberts, some of you may have met last year. She is the director of community relations and diversity at Best Buy. Steve Asemahai is an alum from the very first Clubhouse. I've known him since he was 15 years old, and I don't know what's happened. He's gotten quite a bit older, even though I have remained the same age since I met him. It's important to us to have youth and alumni representation. And then Mitchell Resnick, of course, who we heard from earlier today. And so one of the very first things I asked the Advisory Council to do was to help us with this strategic planning process that we undertook. And some of you will remember last fall, we put out a survey that we asked all of you to participate in to help us set priorities for the coming years. And we got a great response from you, and I so appreciate all of your input and insights that you provided. 86 of you responded to the survey, and many of you who had been with the network for a long time, and then we also got quite a few fresh perspectives as well, which we also need very much. And I sent out the results from the survey last fall after we had aggregated all of them, but just as a refresher, we asked you things like, what do you see as the most important attributes of the Clubhouse in the year 2020? And how much do each of the following characteristics contribute to making the Clubhouse unique? And the things that you told us really helped to validate who we are and where I see us going in the future. You said that the learning model was key, the innovative application of technology, the presence of consistent adult staff and mentors, and the ability for young people to gain not only technology skills, but life skills development and education opportunities. So these are the things that you told us that helped drive the plan that we put together. So really at the heart of our plan and really of who we are is the work that each and every one of you is doing in your communities. And so you are at the center of Clubhouse 2020. And the mission of the Clubhouse, it's quite remarkable. I mean, this mission was conceived in the year 1993, and here we are 23 years later. But I think the mission is as true today as it was back then, which is to provide a creative after-school learning environment where young people from underserved communities work with adult mentors who serve as role models to explore their ideas, develop skills, and build confidence in themselves through the use of technology. So that's the heart of who we are and what we do. And the Clubhouse Network exists essentially to be a catalyst to help each and every one of you be the best you can be and reach your full potential in your individual communities. And make sure that young people have access to the skills, resources, and opportunities to allow them to lead successful lives, have careers that are fulfilling, and to be successful individuals. So we're really here for you in the context of that mission. And we do that in the context of these values, which should look familiar to you. They're on our website. They're in the license agreement that we send to each of you at the beginning of each year. We operate in a realm of equal opportunity, a belief in relationships as important, if not more important, than the technology that is the vehicle by which those relationships are developed in our clubhouses, creative process, embracing diversity, and then also celebrating hard fun. You know, this notion that we don't dumb things down for young people, that we want to celebrate the struggle, the fact that, yeah, this is challenge, and we set high standards for the work that you're going to do, and we know that you will uphold those standards and expectations. So the work that we do takes place in the context of these values, and out of that, we've identified 3 aspirations for 2020 that are really going to guide our work and our efforts over the coming years. And I know you can't read what's on the screen, but again, just in terms of the schematic, the first vision aspiration is that we aspire to be recognized as a leading after-school learning provider, inspiring young people from underserved communities to develop fluency and become motivated and confident learners. And that's the first part of our vision. And out of that, and each of these aspirations comes a strategic goal that links to that vision. So this first aspiration links to really a strategic focus on strengthening our focus on our core mission. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the ways we're going to be doing that in a moment. But let me just first tell you about the other 2 aspects of the vision. The second is that we're going to increase young people's opportunities to fulfill careers by enabling them to develop advanced technological skills and providing ongoing positive experiences with adult mentors who serve as role models. This touches a little bit on what Bill was describing earlier, that, you know, in 2016, having technology skills and being able to utilize them in a career context, creates tremendous opportunities for young people. And so the goal that's driven by that aspiration is that we're going to be developing the C2C Clubhouse to Career Pathways program into a core Clubhouse offering. And I'll be talking a little bit about that in a moment as well. And the third aspect of our vision is that we want to provide educators, government officials, policymakers, really everyone, with a model for the use of technology as a creative tool for education. And the goal that ties with that is rolling out the Clubhouse Catalyst initiative that we've actually been talking about for quite some time, and I think really the time is perfect now for us to be expanding on that. So I want to talk a little bit about each of these strategic goals. First, this strengthen our focus on core mission. Well, what you told us in that survey and what we learned from others as we looked to put this plan together is that if we're going to strengthen our focus on our core mission, we really need to invest in the qualities that differentiate the Clubhouse. Things like our learning model. Things like infrastructure that supports the clubhouses and your work with youth. And the third thing is that we need to increase visibility and recognition for what we do and its impact on young people. If no one knows about it, then we're just going to operate and exist in a vacuum. And that takes me back to some of the things that I said we were going to be doing last year at this time around strengthening focus on the core vision. So there's a lot here, but let me first just pick on this item, engaging in youth impact assessment. So, you know, I have to confess, when I heard from Intel that they were going to be eliminating their funding, I thought for a moment, okay, what are the things that we have planned out there that we might be able not to do because we got to be conservative with our resources? And one of them was this commitment that we had made to do an assessment of the impact of the Clubhouse on young people's lives. And I gave that a thought for about 2 seconds before I realized that actually, no, it's more important than ever that we be able to tell the story about the impact that we're having on young people's lives in order to attract other funders and other sponsors and supporters. And so we went forward with this work. Most of you participated in it. All of you last week received a copy via email of the summary of the report that was put together. And I don't want to steal his thunder because Mark St. John from Inverness Research is going to be talking with us after the break about some of the insights from this report and what they really mean for the work that all of you are doing every day. But I just want to say now that the results are extremely compelling, but they don't do anybody any good if they're just sitting in a drawer somewhere or they're just, on a website and nobody's looking at them. So I would encourage all of you, and I know after Mark's comments you'll be inspired to do so if you aren't inspired by mine, but really to take a look at this in detail and think about who you want to share it with, because we created it in such a way that it's easily processed and read, and it's visually compelling, and it has important data in here. For each of you who had young people, more than 10 or more, complete the report, you also got an individualized report. So think about all the different ways that you can make use of this because we made this investment for you, and it's a tool for you to use as you go forward. The second thing that we've done that I'm very proud of this past year that also serves to raise visibility and recognition for our work is this book that literally you all are the very first people to get a copy of this. The publisher sent it directly from the printer to the hotel. I don't know in your copy, but in mine the ink is still wet. And so it's just really literally hot off the press. And I hope some of you have had a chance to thumb through this. Each Clubhouse is entitled to a copy of your own. You can also download the PDF on our website for free, and you can send people to the website as well. And I just want to, how many of you received Start Making grants over the past 3 years with the support of funding from Intel? Yeah. So the activities that are in here you'll recognize, and you'll probably also recognize images from your individual clubhouses, because really it's thanks to all of you that we were able to put this book together. And I don't know if you've heard the story of how this came about, but Dale Dougherty, who is the man behind the Maker movement, he conceived of the Maker Fair and Make Magazine and Maker Media 10, 11, 12 years ago, happened to come across an activity guide that Danielle Martin, when she was with the Clubhouse Network, and Alicia Panjwani, who co-authored this with her, had put together for internal use by all of you. And he said, wow, this is amazing. We'd love to publish this. And so Maker Media has put this out. It's available on pre-order now from Amazon. I think by next week it'll be shipping. I checked, it's also on the Barnes & Noble website, and it'll be available in Barnes & Noble stores. You can buy it in the Museum of Science Boston shop, and I would encourage you to take it to your local library, take it to your local bookstore, and ask them if they are interested in carrying it. It's chock full of photographs from your clubhouses, and what I think really differentiates it from a lot of other Maker books and magazines and websites for sure. Much of what's posted online is just like a cookbook. It's sort of a recipe for how to make a particular item. But this is full of strategies for how to really engage young people in creative learning and creative thinking. So you all should feel really proud about the work and the contribution that you did to this book. And I'd encourage you to please share it with your community and with your funders and certainly with your youth as well. Another investment that we're making in building the infrastructure for all of you is Project Impacts. So Impacts is an acronym for Increasing Mentor Participation and Commitment to Success. I talked a little bit about this last year. We were just getting started, and now we're well into it. So 5 clubhouses in the United States are teaming up with Aviva Baff, who's the Mentor Program Manager, to really develop resources for all of you to help build a stronger mentor community, because that is really at the core of who we are and the work that you're doing. There's some great resources on the table over there that they've put together, and there's also a breakout session this afternoon on alumni as mentors, because there's some realization and recognition that there needs to be some special consideration to the role that alumni as mentors play in clubhouses. And so if you're interested in that topic, please check out their breakout session this afternoon. There's a shameless plug for you, Aviva. And I'll also say that we've been invited by the Department of Justice to apply for a new grant. So we're looking to expand this program. It will be offered still to U.S. clubhouses, but we're hoping to add another 15 sites from U.S. sites that are eligible. And eligibility means it's for organizations that are not part of a national umbrella organization. So all of you who are in standalone sites have probably already heard from me about that possibility, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed. The grant would provide substantial pass-through funding to each of you to help build this community, because we feel like it's really important to our future. Oops. I mentioned alumni as mentors. Something else we've been investing in is a website and resources for our growing alumni community. At last year's annual conference, we had our first ever alumni summit, and it was really successful and a great opportunity to kind of kickstart the growth of an alumni community. We can't really develop this alumni community without all of your help from Boston. We're really quite limited. And so we really need to ask each of you to put this flyer up in your clubhouse, mention to your older members that, hey, once you leave the Clubhouse network, you know, it's not, please don't disconnect. Come find us on the website. And we also need your alumni stories. So this is from our website. I don't know how many of you have seen the alumni tab, but we've got some really wonderful stories about alumni from around the world, including those who are featured here. But we know that there are alumni stories like these in all of your clubhouses. And so if you have an alum that you think would be a great candidate to be featured, to be profiled, please see Tyler or see Lynn, who's managing that initiative. I mentioned showcasing on the website. Another thing that we're doing to showcase the Clubhouse and the work of your young people throughout the network on our website is through Project Reach. So this was on that list of to-dos, you know, from last year as well. At the time, last year, we were calling it the XYZ Media Festival because we didn't have a name for it. And you all know we renamed it, thankfully, the Global Reach Media Festival. So Reach stands for Revolutionizing Expression at the Clubhouse. And we were just thrilled. This was the first year we've done this. It was inspired by the partnership we had for so many years with Adobe Youth Voices. And we saw that, you know, as that partnership came to an end, there were so many young people who were eager to have a vehicle and a place and a platform for sharing their work. And so we launched the Global Reach Festival earlier this year, and we were just blown away by the number of submissions. And also we had over 2,000 votes. So I don't want to steal his thunder. He's not in the room right now, so I could. But Jeff Arthur is going to be talking about this tomorrow. So I won't say more about it than that. But this is definitely something we're going to do again. And I want to acknowledge Best Buy, who sponsored all of the prizes that are going to be offered. So come back tomorrow and learn more about it. Teen Summit. You know, this is something else. I thought, well, is this something we really should do? Is this something we really, you know, can afford? Is this a good use of our funding? And the answer was, you know, an absolute positive yes. How many of you have been to Teen Summit in the past? Raise your hands. Yeah. So, and you know, even those of you who haven't, whose clubhouses have been, you know the kind of impact that this summit has on young people's lives. The goal is really, the Teen Summit is a youth leadership experience, but it's also more than that. I was talking to many of you last night who were talking about the process that you had gone through to select the youth to participate in the Teen Summit. And it's really an opportunity for young people to think about themselves in the context of this global community that they're part of, and to aspire to participation in the summit. So it's going to be at the end of July. I know you all know the dates and you've selected your youth. We're going to keep with the changes that we made for the last Teen Summit in 2014 that were so successful. So things like earlier selection of youth so that now your young people can be involved in the planning and not just kind of show up and, you know, what have you planned for us? And also we're keeping with the request that everyone participate in fundraising for the Teen Summit. So this is something we introduced 2 years ago, and I heard from a lot of you that actually that opportunity to have the whole community engage in fundraising really helped to build a sense of ownership and anticipation for the experience. And it's also something that we really need not only for this summit, but if we're going to be able to have teen summits in the future, we really need everyone's participation in the cost match that we've requested. And you know, that match is less than 50% of the total cost. We are grateful to have sponsorships for this year's Teen Summit from Intel, from Best Buy, and from Google and others. But we can't do it without your help. Having said that, I do just want to make sure everyone knows that we expect everyone to try, but if you are not able to fundraise the full amount, we still want you to come. We do not want this to be an obstacle to anyone's participation. So if you have questions about that, please see me, please see Nina, who's program manager for the summit. We really want everyone to be able to come. Tomorrow afternoon, right when we break up at 3:15, there's a Teen Summit meeting for anyone who's going who hasn't been before. I would encourage you to go. It's going to be in the George Benson room, which is one floor up. And it's especially a meeting for people who have volunteered to be track leaders. And I should say volunteered in quotes, because some of you, I know we twisted your arms. But thank you all for allowing us to twist your arms. But the first 15 minutes or so are going to be kind of an overview of the Teen Summit. And so if you've never been and you have lots of questions about it, please come to that meeting tomorrow afternoon, right when we wrap up. So, you know, this was last year's checklist or to-do list of things that we said we were going to do. And again, we just accomplished so much this past year, and I'm very grateful to all of you who have contributed and to the network staff. Let me talk just very briefly about the second and third strategic goals. So the first is this goal of developing what we're calling C2C pathways to success. So C2C, again, is Clubhouse to College, Clubhouse to Career. And the rationale for this initiative, you know, it's driven by our vision, but also in 2014, we did a C2C needs assessment, and we heard about this from many of you. And the thinking goes like this. I mean, businesses right now are struggling to find qualified candidates to fill their open positions, especially qualified candidates from underrepresented groups. And at the same time, we have seen over the years that Clubhouse members and alumni, you know, they deserve to have jobs that they enjoy and that are meaningful, and to be prepared for those kinds of jobs. And so what C2C Pathways is about is connecting the dots between those needs on the part of the business community and the needs on the part of clubhouses. And so the idea is to provide young people who are interested in participating with the opportunity to focus on a specific area of technology. I mean, many of them are developing that expertise anyway, but to focus on that area of technology and at the same time develop workforce readiness skills. You know, not just how to write a resume and interview for a job, but once you get the job, how to, you know, prepare for a meeting with your manager, how to recognize that you're being given a deadline, you know, a task with a deadline, how to communicate with your manager if you have questions about how to meet that deadline or about the work, how to get up and go to work in the morning even if you're not feeling great, because that's just what people do. So, you know, not taking things for granted like that, you know, perhaps some of us had others in our lives to kind of serve as role models for, but really helping young people gain those workforce readiness skills. And then marrying up that combination of workforce readiness and technology skills with a real-world internship opportunity that allows them to experience firsthand what a job in that field might look like. and at the same time get the kind of wraparound mentoring services and support that will enable them to be successful, not only in that internship, but coming out of it for the long term. And so C2C Pathways is a program that's in a pilot phase right now. We funded this on a shoestring. I mean, we didn't get a grant to do it. We just kind of pulled the money out of our operating funds, and again, gave a moment's pause to, is this something that we can afford and invest in? And it again was something that we couldn't afford not to do. And so there are 5 clubhouses that are involved in a pilot that Nina is heading up this year. You can see the core elements of it described here. There is a workshop that they're giving this afternoon at 1:30. Yes, this afternoon. So if you're interested in learning more about C2C Pathways, go to their breakout session or find any of the people on this list and ask them about the work that we're doing. And I have to say, I know that many others of you are also doing work like this. And so, we want to really develop a community of practice around this experience. And so we invite everyone to participate. I am looking for a funder. I think there are lots of prospects out there of companies that are interested in supporting this kind of initiative. But don't wait for me. Don't wait for us to come around. You can do this without, the funding that we provided was $2,500. So these were not large grants. These were grants to help people get started. And so please think about how you can incorporate this kind of work into your own clubhouse if you're interested. Finally, the Catalyst Initiative. So this is something that Peter Kirschman, who just joined our staff 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks today, welcome Peter, is going to be heading up. We want to leverage the publication of this book. And the goal, again, is that we want to share ideas from the clubhouse with other educational settings. I get inquiries every week from after-school clubs, from summer camps, from people who are doing extended learning in their schools and are kind of desperate. Maker spaces now are calling and saying, we have all this cool technology, but now what? What do we do with it? We thought we'd just put in a 3D printer and then everybody would come. Well, that's not happening, so help. And in the past, we really haven't had much to offer. We send people to our website. We have the book that came out in 2009 that Teachers College Press published, but we really haven't had much to be able to offer people. So what we want to do with the Catalyst Initiative is to leverage the publication of the book. We want to survey what all of you are doing, because I know many of you are running satellite programs. You have your clubhouse, and then you have another thing, a few miles away or in a school. And it's great to see the proliferation of these ideas, and we want to learn from your experience with them and help to support that. And I think we have a pilot program this summer that's going to be taking place in Panama. This came about because one of the former clubhouse coordinators, I don't know if any of you remember Serafin Bliss from Panama? Yeah, I see some heads nodding. So Serafin now works for the government of Panama. And when he got there, they introduced him to this program around the entire country. So they have 200 what they call info plazas. They're essentially little computer labs in all kinds of different parts of the country. And they're basically, at the time that they were set up, they were a really good idea, but now they're basically not being used much. People are in there on Facebook and YouTube, and pretty much that's just about it. And so they said to Serafin, can you help us figure out what to do with these? And he took one look and he said, well, what these need is a dose of computer clubhouse. And so he flew up with his manager and the head of the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation last fall and spent several days with us talking about a program where we will work with them to help introduce and train their staff to bring Clubhouse ideas to these 209 info plazas around the country. And we know there's lots of other country governments and also organizations out there that are potential customers for this. And we see this both as something that we can offer on a fee-for-service basis and also grant funded. So the proposal that's pending right now with the National Science Foundation relates to the Catalyst Initiative. And we see a role for a lot of you as well in this. One of the things we're thinking about is a program where there would be regional training hubs at many of your clubhouses, and people would come to that regional hub for an experience around the clubhouse and then take it back home. And we would provide grant funding to you to serve as that regional training hub. And we see this as something that's possible not just in the United States, but around the world. So a lot of potential associated with this initiative also. And again, if you have ideas, experiences you want to share, please see Peter or myself or really any of us on the staff. So that's kind of wraps it up, Clubhouse 2020, and our plan for the next 5 years. I want to emphasize that this is a 5-year plan. It's not going to be accomplished overnight. We have 5 years. We have many things that, as I just have been talking about, that we've already been doing to make progress along this plan. But I'm going to ask you all to be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. Pittsburgh wasn't built in a day. Clubhouse Network wasn't built in a day. And this is going to take some time. I'm very confident about our future. So the second thing I'm going to ask is for you to be positive, because I think we have a very bright future and a great plan in place to help guide us toward that future. And the third thing I'm going to ask you is to participate. This isn't something that 10 people in Boston are going to pull off on their own. We're only going to do it with everyone's help and everyone's participation. So patience, positivity, and participation are kind of the three watchwords of the day. I'd love over the next couple of days while we're all here together to get your feedback about this plan and about ways that you see that you could contribute or ideas you have, questions you have about it, suggestions. But as I said, I'm very positive about the direction we're going in. And that leads us to the next couple of days and the time we're going to be spending together as a network. We've brought everyone together to a beautiful city, to a beautiful hotel in a beautiful city. And I hear from many of you every year how much you leave this conference rejuvenated, re-inspired, and just with a renewed sense of energy and commitment. And I know that this year is not going to be any exception. So many of you are contributing sessions that you've put together over the next couple of days, and I hope everyone will take advantage of all of the expertise and experience and knowledge and resources that are here in this room, and I know you all will. And I want to leave all of you with just a personal note, and the personal note is a thank you. I was talking to one of you last night, and they were just saying, this is like the best job in the world. I get to go to work every day and, play with cool technology and hang out with young people that I learn from every day, and it's just the best. But I also know that it is extremely hard work, and that all of you are just deeply committed and passionate about the work that you do. And I hope this isn't true, but I suspect you don't hear thank you often enough. So I want to end with a very personal thank you to each of you. I hope I have a chance over the coming days to reach out individually to express my appreciation to all of you. And I want to end by asking you also, I think I do this every year, but we're going to take a break, but I want to ask you to turn to someone near you or go find someone who over the past year or even since you met them last night has inspired you or taught you something new or given you a new idea to take back home with you, and express your appreciation to them as well. So we're going to take a break. We're going to resume here at 11:15. Before we do, to end on a thank you, I want to just invite you all to give yourselves a round of applause. I'm so grateful to have the chance to work with each and every one of you.